Okay guys, I'm coming for your Starbucks. We knew this was gonna happen. About, let's say 10 years ago, maybe a little less, maybe like 7 years ago, it was really popular to talk about how Starbucks or just getting coffee out was affecting your finances. So there's a money guy, financial advisor, I don't know what his actual credentials are, but he wrote a book or had an idea called The Latte Factor. And the Latte Factor was just basically trying to make sure you understood how the things you buy, the little things, how they add up. And later, or now, I feel in the last few years, it was like a backlash about that. I don't know if it was because the latte factor and that the little things add up, the idea was adopted by, and I mean, is fundamental to the FIRE movement, Financial Independent Retire Early movement. And there was this prevailing thought that the more austere your life could be, the less you buy, the more minimalistic, the better your future could be, the earlier you could retire and then start living. That backlash happened because it's just like, why would we wait X number of years to start living when we should be enjoying things that really matter to us now? And that all makes complete sense, right? I am going back because I want to discuss how that Starbucks habit, and Starbucks, again, this is just like coffee out, any place that's charging you, $5 to $7 for a coffee drink and even like $3.75 for just a black coffee or something like that it's a problem to me. So I just wanted to discuss the habit formation, the dopamine hits that come from even 3 times a week. If you think about how many habits are involved, how much dopamine is released by the coffee habit, by going to get coffee, by spending money on coffee, I wonder if you really think about it, is that habit worth having? So let's start with the fact that 150 million people in this country drink coffee every day. And on average, you're having 2 cups of coffee a day. If we're just talking about simple math, let's say that you're not buying coffee every day. Let's say that you're buying 3 cups a week. Let's be conservative again, say that you're spending $15 a week. I know I have another video where I discuss the fact that if you can just get started on your savings and investing with $20 a month, you could be really starting a habit of becoming an investor and in providing for your future. So there in that example, you already have some money that if you weren't spending at Starbucks, you could send to investment. So that just have to get that out there. If you're somebody who spends a lot of money going into Starbucks and doing stuff like that, but is not investing, I would urge you to definitely keep listening to this video. If you're somebody who feels like you don't know where your money goes, it just seems to be gone by the end of the month and you're kind of waiting for the next paycheck. If you're somebody who every time you leave your house, you're spending like at least $100, at least $50, something gets spent, you should finish this video too, because it's all part of a habit that you have basically developed. James Clear talked about habit stacking, and habit stacking in his view was if you have a good habit that you're doing or just something you do every day, brushing your teeth, and you wanted to add something. So if I want to become better at balance in my old age, I want to be able to, not fall easily or something like that, I might, every time I'm brushing my teeth, stand on one foot with my eyes closed, see if I can do that for the whole 2 minutes. So if I'm doing that thing that I have established, I can add something good to it. With Starbucks runs, with going to get your Starbucks daily or 3 times a week or whatever you're doing, there are habits that you might not even realize. The first one is consider the fact that when you wake up and you need that coffee, that anticipation of caffeine, that's probably your biggest motivator right there. And you're either putting your mobile Starbucks order in, calling I don't even know if people do that, texting your order to the coffee shop that you go to, whatever you're doing. You know that you're gonna get that dopamine rush and get that caffeine as soon as you're putting that order in. As soon as you decide, I'm going to Starbucks today, you know that you're gonna start feeling better after you have your coffee order that you're getting. So that is the beginning of the habit formation, that working towards that goal of getting that coffee. Second thing that happens with a coffee routine would be that getting coffee at home becomes a little less desirable. If you think about it, when you, for instance, go out to eat, you're getting that extra fat, you're getting that extra sugar, you're getting whatever other things that are salt, all those things that the cook has put together and are so delectable. Same thing with Starbucks. If you're making coffee at home, you're probably not adding the amount of sugar that they're adding at Starbucks. You might have all those like different pumps and things, like you can add your caramel and everything like that. But just consider every time you're going to Starbucks and getting that ease. You're not buying beans and having to grind them down and do whatever process you have to do at home. You are ordering, you are getting your drink, and you're finishing it. You might look around in stores while you're finishing it. It might be in Target when you're finishing it, but you'll be able to just throw it away easily. And that kind of makes it hard to want to just keep drinking coffee at home when it tastes so much better and it's so much easier from a cleanup and shopping perspective. The third thing that might reinforce the habit of going to Starbucks or going to whatever cafe you go to is that, are you just buying the coffee, which alone has that, caffeine, has the sugar, has the fat, the non-dairy creamer, whatever it is. If you're buying that coffee, don't you want that protein sandwich, that like high protein sandwich that Starbucks is touting that costs even more? Is your Starbucks run just getting coffee? And if it's black coffee, that's different. I don't know how much it is now. I assume it's at least $3, which is bananas for black coffee because it tastes like hell. But that's my personal opinion. After trying to drink black coffee for like 6 months, and the taste buds never really adapting to it, I tried. I had to cut coffee completely because I couldn't handle it anymore. Anyway, if you are, getting that sweet coffee and then getting something on the side with it that also is a dopamine spike, you're getting the yummy sausage, egg, and cheese or something like that, and that becomes a habit. Of course, you're spending more money than that way too. But the point is that you are building dopamine hits with this routine. The fourth thing about going to Starbucks is that you might not be going just once a day. It might be that you're going once a day and then, you need to pick me up in the afternoon. So you might be going again for that shaken tea or that whatever that new juice is that they call tea. When I was in residency, there were like 3 Starbucks in our hospital, and it was very much like coffee in the morning. You get your green tea, but don't add anything to it so you can be good. But that green tea was still like $5. You're going to Starbucks as a relief, as a break. And that was definitely part of the habit, part of the dopamine hit. A nice little go with whoever you're on service with and take a break from being on the wards and relax with some Starbucks. And it was just such a habit that was so hard to break because of the caffeine, because of the sugar, because of the routine, the break and the relief. It's just something that can be very difficult to stop. It is something that can be perpetuated because it fits so easily into your life. It's just right around the corner or right across the street and right across the corner. So it can be the thing that you spend a little bit of money on every day, every other day, whatever it is, because it's so easy to go in there and you're going to be happy. Everything is supposed to be the same. People, they're supposed to make the drinks the same way. And it just almost a sense of relief, especially when you're in a foreign country. You get into the habit also of just whipping out your credit card, whipping out your Starbucks card, whatever. And that we know that just buying things in general can give you a dopamine hit and can make you feel better. And when you couple that with the caffeine, the sugar, all the things that come with purchasing it and anticipating what you're going to get, which is like a drug, because caffeine is essentially, it's changing some things. It does make you more sharper, less fuzzy, can make you concentrate more, better. There are health benefits to caffeine, but they're often diluted or kind of gone. The good antioxidants with all the additives that you put in your Starbucks order, you're basically drinking sugar. And we know that drinking drinks that are high in calories, high in sugar, all those kind of things, they are absorbed by your system so much easier, and you have a much greater chance of developing type 2 diabetes, coronary artery disease, hypertension, like you name it. The drinking sugar, be it caffeinated, a drink at Starbucks, or just like juice, even if it's freshly squeezed because it's lacking the fiber. Soda, obviously, don't drink Mountain Dew, don't do it. All of these things can really play with your health, and the caffeine can make it so hard to stop doing it. And then when you're thinking about soft drinks and Starbucks, you got the sugar too. When you're thinking about Starbucks alone, you have the act of just buying it. But I guess when you go to like a gas station or something like that, you have the other sugary things that you can buy along with the soda, and that too would spike your dopamine, just like going to Starbucks and doing the same thing. So these are all things you need to consider that is a part of the caffeine habit. But what can we do to mitigate it? What can we do to not have this be a habit? How can we quit Starbucks or even just like decrease it? And the first thing I would do is, and not because I've done this and just gave up coffee because it was actually hard, but think about what your habit is worth. Is that $15 a week, $60 a month Starbucks habit impeding you from doing something that you want to do? So if you're watching this video, you might want to be an investor, you might consider yourself an investor, or you are investing, but you don't feel like it's ever enough. Is it possible that quitting caffeine, quitting coffee would help you be able to put more money away? And is that desire to put more money away greater than the need for caffeine? Can you think about any other ways in your life where caffeine or needing to drink coffee was an actual detriment? So for me, it was problematic for me because I want to get up and I exercise, then I need to go to work. So when I was drinking black coffee, I would add that to my routine. I want to drink my black coffee, but I want to brush my teeth too. And that just took all this time and I was annoyed by it. So I decided when I couldn't get used to black coffee that I needed to just cut coffee completely because, it wasn't worth like the protein coffee I was making and everything. And I wasn't able to just like get out the door and go to work, or I'd be breaking my fast early and needing to eat lunch too because never mind. Anyway, I decided to stop the caffeine and I went through hell. Like I mean, before I actively decided to drop coffee, sometimes on the weekend I would forget to drink it because I was just doing whatever I was doing and I forgot to drink coffee and I couldn't drink it after 11 or else I'd basically not be able to sleep. So I would get crazy migraines and my head does not need an excuse to hurt. And so missing the caffeine would always produce a migraine. So it was wanting to get out of the door on time without like having to do an extra step and just not wanting to be beholden to something. Like I didn't want to have to drink caffeine, have to drink coffee because then my head would hurt or I didn't feel right. I didn't want any kind of limitations, addictions, whatever you want to call it. I just didn't want that in my life anymore. And also I was spending a lot of money on the coffee beans, on the protein that I like to put into my coffee. And then it just seemed like this habit was costing me more than it was benefiting me. So, I still, in my mind, feel like I'm going to go back and drink coffee, but I want to have the ability to drink it on my own terms, drink it sometimes, maybe go to Starbucks every now and then, but I definitely don't want to be addicted to it. For me, that's like the cost. I wanted to be able to be free time-wise. Money-wise was actually less of a concern, more than I just really wanted to not be addicted to something or have to have it. But for you, it really might be that you're, contemplating investing. You really don't feel like you have any money, but then, oh my gosh, there are these events where I go to Starbucks, or I go to the local, mini mart and I buy a bunch of junk and stuff like that. If I didn't do that, if I didn't buy my Starbucks, I could invest, I could do more. So that's the kind of thing you have to tease out, whether it's worth it, whether there's something else you want that maybe that $60 or $100 and something dollars, and in the Latte Factor book, it's more like $2,000 that they're talking about because people are going to Starbucks very often. Is there something that is worth more than that habit that Starbucks has bred in you? So that's something you have to think about. If that's not the case, you might be somebody who budgets all the time and has in your budget Starbucks X, Y, and Z, like this is what you anticipate because it's such a good part of your life. And that I'm not going to stop you from that. I would keep an open mind and try to think about whether that habit is actually benefiting you or is just something that, is so inculcated that the thought about getting rid of it is not even crossed your mind. So it's kind of being more, I guess I would just be encouraging you to have more of that growth mindset, not be fixed and thinking that like, I don't need to change this. I love it so much, It could be that, not having this as a habit, not having your need for caffeine or whatever to be something that has to happen. And it could, open up a lot of more doors if you think about it, and a lot more money as well. So just keep that in mind. So that's the first thing. Like if you keep that in mind, if you have something bigger than that coffee habit, than that caffeine habit, that's going to help you quit because you are just seeing how your life will benefit from something different, from a change, or just the money that will be freed up. The other thing to consider is the health risks that come with drinking caffeine that we've already, not drinking caffeine. Caffeine's fine. It's the Starbucks coffee that is very sweet, has a lot of sugar, has a lot of fat, just additives, whatever it is that they're putting in there, maybe even chemicals. Think about your health. This whole video just came to me because I'll see teenagers, especially this summer, just summertime, you see a bunch of teenagers and I ask everybody what they eat and drink because I just want to know what's going on. We're picky about the vegetables or we're eating them. And most of my patients will have coffee, which is not something that was like completely normal when I was their age. You know, we weren't out drinking coffee, going to Starbucks. So the habit is starting early, but these kids are going at least 3 times a week, maybe more, getting a drink, getting the sandwich, and you can just tell no one's drinking black coffee. So they are drinking oatmeal sugar, the oat milk sugar, sweetened brown sugar, shaken something. And it's just like all the sugar. They're drinking the refreshers with all the sugar. And like I said before, when you drink the sugar, the uptake is rapid. Your blood glucose increases, your insulin spikes. And that is the easiest way to have health difficulties and have problems when you're habitually going and drinking sugar sweetened beverages. It's like any pediatrician will tell you, you're not supposed to drink sugar sweetened beverages very often. And it should be something you're thinking about like a dessert. Would you rather eat a brownie or drink, a dirty chai? And sometimes I'd rather have a dirty chai because of that caffeine. But you have to think about it. You have to think about these drinks as if it's dessert. And, are you eating dessert every day? Are you drinking the coffee and having dessert? Think about that. Okay, so the first one was to ask yourself if the coffee is worth the amount. The second thing is to think about quitting coffee altogether. So if you drink black coffee, it is totally different. You love coffee. Like I totally agree with your stance on coffee. Keep it up. You love it. If you are adding sugar and cream and all these things, you don't like coffee as much. You really like dessert. You like a warm milkshake. And I'm the same way. But is that something, health risks included, is that something you want to continue knowing that it's not great for your health? It's not great for your bank account. Like, is it worth having as a habit? And I would also, of course, say that if you're going to have the coffee and you want to quit going to Starbucks, you got to make it at home. Of course, it's going to be less desirable because you have to actually do the work. You are probably not getting it as sweet and probably not having it just like Starbucks, obviously, because you might not have those additions at home, but at least it is hopefully made with less sugar and less non-dairy creamer and those things that we know are not altogether greatly healthy for you. But those are 3 things to think about in your decision to quit. Do you have better use for that money? Can you just quit drinking coffee altogether? And will you just drink it at home? The last thing, little bonus tip would be when you are out and you randomly go to Starbucks, if you think about what it is that you actually need, do you need a caffeine hit or are you trying to spend money? Are you wanting that kind of camaraderie, that social interaction? Because other people be in Starbucks and it's interesting to go there when other people are there. It's just a good idea to think about the mind state that you're in when you want to just go and do something random and buy something random while you're out. Because it might just be that you're trying to spend money and it would be better to pull back and save that money. If you're going 7 days a week to buy coffee, decrease it to 5, decrease it to 4. If you're going 3 times a week, like in my example, try to do it twice or just once. If you're doing once a week and that's something that you're not going to change, keep it and just try, I think, to decrease the things that you're putting in there, a little less sugar, a little less whatever, especially if it's just like a habitual thing that you do once a week. And so if it is something where you're just out and about and you're going to Target, you're going shopping and you always start that shopping trip with a Starbucks, you are really stacking the habits, the spending habits on top of the reward of getting caffeine and dopamine hits. And I would really consider just maybe divorcing those two habit stacks, those 2 habits that you stacked, try to divorce them. So if you're going shopping, make it so you go home and get your coffee, make your coffee before you go so that that caffeine hit and that great Starbucks, that purchase, all those things can be divorced from you going to Target and also getting dopamine hits by buying those random home decor items and the athletic gear that they have there. This is what I would be doing. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day. Please don't hate me for trying to take your coffee away. I just want you to see how it's combined with so many different habits that are not great. Have a great one.